Hi, this is Tim, and welcome back to another podcast where we answer your questions. And wow, what a week! Because, yeah, we do have some questions to cover on both YouTube and LinkedIn. Everything from some motor troubleshooting questions to some heated debates about legacy networking to we even had a fire this week. Let's get started. And first, I want to point out on our AC motor troubleshooting video, Michael Plater says you need to call it a insulation test, not a mega test. And here's where it's just what I was used to hearing. And even earlier this week's video, I corrected myself, I think 3 times, saying we were going to mega our motor. And it's like, no, it's an insulation test. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Kleenex. It's became such a normal term that we use for a tissue that next thing you know, we're just like, yeah, let me grab a Kleenex. But I am doing my best. I will never be perfect, but we learn as much as we can together. But on that motor testing video, one big question that just repeatedly comes up, and I can't give you the magic answer, is what is the good value? What is the bad value? Now, in that video, we go pretty in depth. And yeah, maybe it is. I know it's a 20-minute video, but on things to look for. But the reason it's hard to give a good versus bad measurement for an insulation test is one, it's very dependent on the actual motor, but it's also very dependent on the environment. Because really, we're looking for a change in the motor readings more than maybe even a specific reading. I mean, if you are in a wet environment, it's not unusual to get moisture into a motor. We do our best to keep it out, but it does happen. And if you're in a super dry environment, the fact that you have a drop of moisture can mean, something major. So it's a really hard question to answer. And we just probably the big thing that I would say is I think in that video that one company had the best advice for it is you need to know the good values. So when we get a brand new motor, and not every motor, I wouldn't say everybody, but when we get a motor that's going to be a 5-digit cost to change out, those are the ones where all of a sudden we're going to, we want to know those before we actually change it. So we want to know what is the resistance across those windings? How many amps does that motor pull? Let's do it. An insulation test. Got it right that time. And let's note those good values. That way, when all of a sudden we're having problems with the motor, then we can pull that old data out and figure out what it is. Then moving on, we were modifying a trainer, well, arguably in the past 2 weeks now, and here's where my job's talk about scope creep. What happens at the training center is really, I wanted to highlight some of Rockwell Automation's new 5034 IO. I do believe that that's going to be an important thing as our systems age, is being a transition from the 1734 to the 5034. And then by the end of it, it took me 2 days to modify the trainer for what ended up being really, I think the final cut time is like a 20-minute video of the 5034. But it brought up some really humorous things about copy and pasting and it causing all types of issues. Because in all that, I decided to move all our Modbus exercises over to it. And then I was copy and pasting. And then, yeah, it just kept rolling downhill. I was on a micro 850 on one of them, and it was not counting. But then I slowed it down and started counting. I'm like, oh, I know what it is now. I forgot to set my input filters lower. And then, yeah, we had to fight those microscopic little yellow triangles. And yeah, hey, and then I had to do the wiggle test on a ControlNet, which apparently, got Trevor Dandy nice and flared up because he said ControlNet needs to die. And you're 100% right. And here's where, in ControlNet and DeviceNet arguably are two of those that are tough ones. Because really, we've got to address a whole media issue, not like social media, like hardware media, physical media. That's the word I'm looking for. A whole media issue before we can even swap devices out. And so, those are getting harder to find, but also it's very hard to just say, something, we're going to pull this whole network out of here and switch it to Ethernet IP. there's a lot of longer term planning in there. And and it's probably video worthy, but I don't know that I really have the answer for that. Because I've seen companies that, they're just like, yeah, whenever it does, we go ahead and run a cable there and then we go ahead and do the conversion, which causes a tremendous amount of downtime. And then I've seen ones where they've thought it through to the nth degree and they have ran cables and they have the Ethernet cables sitting right there by the drives and by all of them. And as one fails, they've already have the programs in there and they just gotta inhibit one and uninhibit the other. And from a downtime perspective, it's really cool. But from a troubleshoot perspective, it's really difficult because then we've got two drives on every one. So it is one that probably, and I don't know that's probably there it is. I probably won't ever do a video on it because it's one that every single person's application is going to be unique. Now, a little bit on that because I just kind of threw device. Sometimes I throw these terms out like everybody's supposed to know. But DeviceNet and ControlNet were pretty much linear topologies. So you just went from this place to this place to this place, just all in line. And you could cover some distance with those. I mean, we're in the football length range, so you could have a network running all the way down your plant. And so it's just a lot of work to think through that part as far as doing that conversion. But yes, you're right. ControlNet probably does need to die. And I do need to do some videos kind of showing how to remove devices because it's kind of funny, every network goes through this and device, and I should just say ControlNet. As we add devices, we had to learn how to add and build our networks out. Well, as you remove devices on DeviceNet, you get all these errors now. Well, we ought to get those errors cleaned out. That way we can actually see what's wrong. But yeah, what is it? Well, I'm really rusty. Thank goodness I'm rusty at DeviceNet, error 72. I can't even remember. Whatever the error is that tells you on DeviceNet that the node's not there. Almost all DeviceNets have those flashing now. We should remove those. But ControlNet could be really difficult because as you remove more of them, eventually you've got to reschedule your network. And so that can be an issue there. A little more on the, I guess it is kind of the chaotic side. If you didn't know it, my son Michael, he has another project vehicle now. He has a Ford Explorer Sport that did not run, and he is slowly getting it running. He actually got it running this week, and 20 minutes later, so he managed to set it on fire. Though I learned that he did have adequate training on how to operate a fire extinguisher because he didn't burn the place down. That's always a good sign. But but also, I really appreciate somebody else's comments on that. I put a post out about it, and you're like, he really does think well under pressure, and I think that's something that a lot of us really that's a valuable skill, and it doesn't mean so much to me that so many of y'all pointed that out. He didn't just call the fire department. Now, if you have a fire and you can't get it under control, call the fire department. But, he went and got the fire extinguisher. He managed to put it out. He managed to make sure there's no danger. Of course, he did call me then. And I told him, I said, you got to work on your delivery on this stuff. He's like, yeah, Dad, the Explorer caught on fire. Of course, I'm like, is it on fire right now? Well, no. I'm like, are you going to deliver this stuff? But yeah, so if you didn't see that video, you want to go check it out. It was a really good video of him thinking through the problems to get that running. He had a ticking noise in it. Actually, he's down there tearing it apart right now. So they made me another video because really I'm kind of stumped about he's got some tick in this thing and I can't pinpoint it. But really, he did a great job, which kind of, I think there's a lot that we could learn from that very incident right there. There was an unfortunate incident in this past week in our automation community, and a lot of people asked me, to speak up and say something about it. And, my first thing I would say is that my voice does not carry any more weight than any one of your voices. And that I'll say that more times than not, I will hold back on my opinion just for that reason, because I don't want it to become, well, Tim said this. But what I will say is that our industry does need diversity. Our industry also does need adversity inside of our groups. I will say, first of all, we're not a diverse industry. Let's just go ahead and throw that out there. There's no denying that. But it would be really easy for me to say, well, TW Controls is definitely a diverse company because we have more women than men. Now, that may be so, and that may be a statistic that, we enjoy throwing around. But even then, if it's not an environment where someone feels that they can say what's on their mind, then no, it's not a diverse environment. My philosophy, I'm a fairly simple person. Whatever you do today, strive to do better tomorrow. You know, and do this in all things. The day that you feel you have no more room for improvement, that's whether it be in your PLC code or in how you foster an inclusive environment, that's the day you're probably a lost cause. If we truly want to make our world a better place, then we need to stop treating honest feedback as an attack. And I am guilty of this. And that's why, I even now, and here's the thing, I could just have a bad day and this can crop back up fast. That I get a lot of criticism in my videos. And there have been times where, I used to have the hater videos. And a lot of people enjoy the hater videos, but a lot of people are like, Tim, we look to you to just be a better, role model for our industry. Can you just cool down on that? And I never forget when somebody told me that one time. I was like, ooh, I guess maybe I do need to watch the way I speak. But also, you know, it's not just me. We all need to do that. And sometimes I have to just give myself a reality check. And I'll be like, I'll walk to Amber and be like, can you believe what somebody said to me? And she's like, yeah, that really stinks. Now, how are you going to respond to it? And it's never a, yeah, let's just pounce on them. As part of this community, how are you going to respond to improve this situation? In the video about how we got started, I kind of went over that E plus R equals O. The event, somebody wrote something really mean about me and it hurt my feelings. My response is the only thing I can adjust to make a positive outcome. And that's what I would say to everybody that's kind of thinking about getting more revved up on that is what response can you make to that event to give us a more positive outcome on the industry? But that's all I have for today. If I didn't get to your question, one, just keep dropping them in the comments. I apparently need to go check on Michael. He's got the heads off of it now and apparently has an idea about what's going on. But there is a live stream tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's late. We're going to do a lunchtime live stream, or at least if you're on the East Coast, it is a lunchtime one. And we will be talking about how to add a PowerFlex 525 to your IO configuration in Studio 5000. That'll be the first thing. But then seeing a lot more where we're actually passing the IO back and forth on that PowerFlex. So we're going to figure out how to connect our data links so that we can read the analog inputs and outputs from that PowerFlex 525. And I think that's as far as we'll get into tomorrow's live stream, but you never know. But also come with your questions because, yeah, it will be an opportunity to answer those. Have a great week.